Whether parents are aware of it or not, they have the most important role in any society because they provide the context that shapes the next generation, and they are the conduit to the future. Whether society is stabilized, becomes chaotic, or evolves to a higher level is determined by the value system of the family in which the citizens of the future are shaped. The health of the parent mediates the health of the child, who mediates the health of the culture. This short solo episode is to tell you about my new offer, a group coaching container for parents called the Grounded Parent Circle. So if you are a parent of a young adult who is either going to college or going out to live on their own, this is a good one for you. See you inside. Welcome to Good is What Makes You Feel Well, Mama Terra's podcast. Each week, we will explore topics that impact our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health through inspiring transformation stories. Here, you will find practical guidance and actionable strategies to apply in your daily life. I'm your host, Ana Rezende, author, health coach, and speaker. I'm here to help you protect your energy, strengthen your well-being, and thrive through life's transitions. If you are a student, a parent, a teacher, or someone who cares about well-being, go to Amazon and check my book, Living Your Best Life in College. Now, let's dive in and discover what really makes you feel well.
Abraço uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala a montanha, contempla a vista, transcende, levita.
Hello, my dear listeners. This is the first solo episode since we started season 3. And I decided to do it because I do have some important update to give you. Something unexpected happened to me this weekend, and it shifted the direction of my work. My husband and I watched the Norwegian movie Sentimental Value, a story about childhood trauma and how it follows us into adulthood. And as I watched it, I realized I wasn't just watching an Oscar-winning movie. I was watching my story. My sister and I grew up witnessing our parents fight for years until they eventually divorced when I was 9. And even though we stayed with our father, he slowly disappeared from our lives. Now I know this is not unique. So many people have lived versions of this story. In the movie, the two sisters happen to witness their parents arguing all the time. And then the father leaves. They stay with their moms. Then the father disappears. It's so interesting that in the movie, the youngest sister, she plays a role in her father's old movie, and her character was named Anna. And I am the youngest. So, needless to say that the number of similarities were infinite. Well, the story is not unique. So many people have lived versions of this. Some people don't even get to know their fathers. That doesn't make my trauma smaller or anybody's trauma smaller. Matter of fact, actually no trauma is small. We cannot compare one person's suffering with another. Every trauma is a trauma, no matter how big or how small. So But the point is, I believed all my trauma has already been integrated. I believed that I had already healed that part of me. I have been doing the work. I've done the inner child work. I've done family constellation, hypnotherapy, Kundalini yoga, hot yoga, lots of yoga, by the way, all the reflection, all the integration, everything. But that night, I went to bed with my head full of memories. So that movie brought so many memories back, so many feelings. One of the final scenes, when the two sisters get together and the youngest says, I think Dad wrote this play for you and I want you to read it. And she gives the script and the oldest sister starts to read and she sees herself in the play, all the feelings that she was having. So she understands that her father, even though being away, he was able to understand her feelings. And then she says, I don't know how you turned up okay and I am this fucking mess, she says to her youngest sister. And then the youngest sister says, well, the difference is that I had you. So you protected me. You washed my hair. You combed my hair. And in that moment, I was shocked. Because in my case, even though I was the youngest, that didn't happen. My oldest sister was not there for me. Actually, in a certain time, she abandoned me to go live with my dad and left me behind with my mom and my youngest sister. So those feelings were all there, just that mix of everything, those memories, those feelings. And then I went to bed with all that. I woke up the next morning with a headache. And I thought, yes, my body is still processing this whole mess. Even though I thought I had already integrated everything, I have not. There is still something in my nervous system imprinted in my body that I need to process. So I spent the whole Saturday feeling and letting my body process the memories and everything else. So there was still more to be processed. Intellectually, my mind had already processed, but my body had not yet fully released. So as I was talking to my husband about what had happened and that I had a headache and everything, then something just came full circle for me. Last year I published my book, Living Your Best Life in College. If you are following me all along, you know it's been a year now that I published this book. And the purpose of the book is to help young adults navigate early adulthood. I wrote it to leave a legacy for my kids and for my younger self, because I had this big, huge void in me because I didn't have neither my mom or my dad during my whole, I can tell for sure, my whole childhood and until my later teens. I didn't have both of them. So I do have this big, huge gap in me, right? So no guidance, no role models, no care. So I wrote this book for my kids and for myself. And it feels like that was the first step of the mission. That was the first step of the mission. And that is what came full circle for me. Because now I realized that in order for me to really help those young kids, I must help the parents first. Then we'll work on prevention. Of course, It's okay to repair and to know how to survive and move forward, even though you had this trauma in your life. And that is what I talk in the book. You are on your own now. You are an adult. You have to take care of yourself and move forward. If you are enjoying this episode, but don't yet understand the multidimensionality of health, I created a free ebook to help you. It's a simple yet insightful few-page book you can read in less than 10 minutes. The ebook link is in the show notes. Now, back to the episode. And that is okay. But I believe we need to work on both ends. And by both ends, I mean for those who are already living with the trauma, how to repair. But on the other hand, how we can avoid the trauma to happen in the first place. And that means how we can be better parents. How can we parent from a really conscious way? How can we parent with intention? Really paying attention to our own stuff, healing our own stuff first, and raising those kids from a conscious state, breaking and releasing all the old patterns. So that came to mind for me as a big breakthrough. The book was the first step of my mission, but now I feel the mission is much bigger than that. It goes back to parents. Because families are the building block of society. Families are the cells of this organism that we call society. And yet, no one teaches us how to be in a family. No one teaches us how to parent. We are given the most important role and job in the whole world and expected to figure it out as we go. No major, no associate's degree, no certifications, no manuals, no technical training, nothing. And we have to do all that while still carrying our own unresolved wounds. No wonder why we keep deploying generational trauma again and again. So what happens when we are not prepared and we just do it? We repeat our parents' patterns. Because that is what we know. We cannot blame ourselves for that neither. We only know what we know. And we don't know what we don't know. So we repeat our parents' patterns. We react instead of respond. We love deeply, but not always consciously. And we keep deploying generational trauma again and again, like our grandmothers did, like our mothers did. So we keep doing the same thing. And that's not a failure. It's just lack of awareness. There is no one to blame. It's just a matter of being aware. So my deepest desire now is to help shift parenting from unconscious to conscious. My deepest desire now is to shift parenting from unconscious to conscious. To help families become spaces of awareness, healing, and love. Not perfection, but intention. Because when we heal ourselves, we change how we show up for our children. And that changes everything. And I want to say something important here. I'm not doing this because I have it all figured out. No way. I'm doing this because I'm still in it. I'm still healing, like I just said, still learning and still repairing. I'm still repairing because my kids are now young adults and they do carry their own traumas. Of course, I did the best I could, and that is how I always operated. And that is something interesting too. I have to mention that because since a very young age, I knew I wanted to have kids. I never questioned it. And since a very young age, I knew that I wanted to do this differently. I was really aware that I didn't want to repeat any patterns. I didn't want to raise my kids like I was raised. And that was a really young age self-awareness that I don't know where it came from. But looking back now, I think that was the seed of my mission. So I had this feeling that my mission, I didn't know back then, but looking back now, I think that was a seed that was planted. And my first inner knowing of this mission was back then when I decided to do things differently. But of course, I did my best and I did a lot of things wrong. I wish I knew back then what I know today, but that's how life is, right? So we learn as we go. So I'm still repairing. I'm repairing my relationship with my kids, and I'm doing that every day. And I know that it's still time. It's time to repair my relationship with them, with my parents and the whole family. And I believe the same is true for you. I believe the same is true for all of us. All of us. And that's why I'm creating the Grounded Parents Circle, a space for parents of young adults to come together in honesty and vulnerability, to share experiences, to learn from each other, to feel less alone. A space where we can say, I don't have all the answers, but that's okay. I am willing to grow. I am here. I just want to do better. I'm willing to do better. Because maybe parenting isn't about getting it right. And it's not. And it's not. It's about love. Unconditional love. Something that we also have to learn. Right? So maybe it's about just becoming more aware. More grounded. Then we can be more loving. One moment at a time. I believe my mission came to me in parts. So the first part was really the huge intuition I had about writing this book. And it was in a moment of rock bottom with my son. And I could understand the importance of having guidance on developing just life skills. This is what the book is about. It's just teaching life skills. How do you identify your values? The importance of taking care of yourself and standing up for yourself in your relationships and in life. The book is really a holistic guide for those young adults starting adulthood and independent life. And more than anything, I'm really sure that I wrote this book for my kids and my younger self. But I see now very clearly that that was the first step into my mission. And a step further now is to work with parents on the other hand of the spectrum. Harville Hendrix, he says something really interesting. And this is something that I always believed to be true. He says, whether parents are aware of it or not, they have the most important role in any society because they provide the context that shapes the next generation, and they are the conduit to the future. Whether society is stabilized, becomes chaotic, or evolves to a higher level is determined by the value system of the family in which the citizens of the future are shaped. The health of the parent mediates the health of the child, who mediates the health of the culture. So I believe in this with all my heart. And I think that just makes my intention even stronger of developing this group coaching container. And I foresee this being something really bigger than a program. I envision this being really a movement to the education of the future. Because I do believe in a new education system for schools, more towards mindfulness and emotional intelligence, and how to develop life skills, how to regulate the nervous system. And I think we do need to have the schools teaching those life skills for those kids since a very young age, like some places in the world. I think in Japan, they teach meditation, they teach yoga. There are some schools in Brazil, in São Paulo, that I know follow the yogi framework for teachings and whatnot. But more than that, we need to teach that in the families, in the cells of the society organism. This is really the way we can change the future, if we can better prepare parents to receive and guide those kids in a way that we can reduce the trauma to the minimum, so we will have adults that can grow and evolve and learn other things without having to heal themselves from past trauma. Another very important point that I wanted to touch about the movies, so like we said, generational trauma can be passed over. Some people say up to 7 generations down, and then it comes from 7 generations up. So the story of the movie really shows us that, because the father of the 2 girls was a boy from a suicidal mom. So he was probably by himself at a very young age, and he had his own traumas, right? Unresolved, unprocessed things that he had to deal with. So, and that is what generational trauma means. So he didn't have the chance to work on that stuff. He passed it through his girls, and now it's up to them to break the pattern. Another movie that came to mind right now was It Ends With Us. And the message, I know all the controversial stuff that happened after the movie was released, but for me, that movie was a great success. The message of Justin Baldoni in that movie is, we are able to break the patterns. So it ends with us. It's the end of the generational trauma of abuse. And that is the same message with this movie, is that we do have the power. It's just a matter of seeking help, looking inside, and dealing with all those things. It is just having the safe space. It's really important to have this safe space. It might not be for everybody, but it can be so helpful for many of us to have this community willing to support each other. So that is what the Grounded Parents Circle is all about. It's just a safe container for parents to help each other, to share resources, to share stories, and learn together. So if you're interested, I'll leave the link to the waiting list in the show notes, so you will be the first one to know when it's ready to launch. All right, that's all for today. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and want to know more about me and my work, sign up for my newsletter. Every week, I craft good wellness information, recipes, and book recommendations with love and care just for you. It's rich and free. Find the sign up link in the show notes. See you in the next episode. And remember, good is what makes you feel well.